Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are here for our part 2 panel discussion. I'm so excited. Hello, ladies. We may see some people jumping in as we begin, but we're going to go ahead and continue this conversation on the importance of self-care in the African American community and keys to developing those healthy habits that we know that promote self-care. So how are you all doing this evening?
We are good. I'm good in
You're
this space.
good. You're doing great. You're doing great. Doing great. Well, I hope that something is said today that will continue to encourage you to go forth, be aggressive about your self-care. So we wanted to just target the African American community. Yes, because hey, that's where we live. And it's okay to have a target. Can we say that? It's okay to have a primary target. There will be other conversations, as you see, with ABC Educational Services as we continue to have these conversations about our different communities. But we wanted to start with the impact of self-care in the African American community. Okay, so I just want to make that little disclaimer out for everyone who is watching. Know that if you may not be African American, these will also apply to you. They can apply to you, right? So these expertise, this wisdom that you're going to hear from our panel, know that you can still apply that to your everyday life. Okay, so I just wanted to make that very clear before we get started. So let's go ahead and get started. Looks like you guys are ready for a conversation. I know I am. Let's go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm looking at our areas of discussion. So one of the things that I wanted to start off with was just advice. What advice could you give someone who is struggling with knowing how to incorporate self-care into their lives?
I can start. I don't mind.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you have to realize it's one thing that I've always thought about, and I thought about Yolanda when I get ready to say this, that wherever you go, there you are. And you have to realize that before you do anything, and before you can give to people, and before you can contribute to your community, before you do work, before you do any of those things, you have to stop and pause and pay attention to finding out where you are. And if you don't know where you are, you'll end up anywhere.
Oh, and say that again. Say that again.
When you don't know where you are, you will end up anywhere. And so that's self-care sometimes, with being able to do an inventory and say, where am I right now? I think one of the best examples is Simone Biles. Yes. I don't care what stage we're on. I don't care where I'm at. I'm not doing it.
Yes.
Because if you look at the fact of historically, Black women have never been able to give the permission to be human, let alone female. So to have her on a national stage to say, I'm not. People, well, what about I'm not comfortable in the way that I need to concentrate. I'm not in the mind space to be able to be good to myself. So I have to say no. And the beauty about that, she said no with no further explanation. Mm-hmm. I don't have to tell you that it's my ADHD, if I'm flying too high, I won't be able to. No. And we have to learn that sometimes no is a complete sentence.
Right.
And this is an ongoing lesson that we have to learn. But we have to be intentional about the place that, in the space that you're in, wherever space that is, you are the one person that you show up with every day. And if you don't check in with you're going to end up somewhere where you don't want to be. And so you have to incorporate that, whether it is 10 minutes before you get up in the morning. And if you pray or if you meditate, let that be that time. If that is time where you sit and do nothing, that's the time. If you sit and you say, before you speak to anybody, You have a regimen. If that's taking your vitamins and drinking water, sitting outside for 15, 20 minutes before you engage with anybody, that's self-care. And I think that sometimes we make it so grand, so big, so, oh my God, I have to do that. People sometimes get lost in the fact that it can be very simple.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be very complex.
Right, right. I would totally agree with that. And the other pieces about that is we have to know that we deserve to have self-care.
Yes.
Because one of the things that we're saying is that we don't allow ourselves to be able to have it. And as women, we know that women are caretakers and they take care of everybody but themselves. As Black women, we have never been given the space, the grace, the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm good right where I am. And I'm okay. I do not, I know that there are a bazillion people who belong to a gym somewhere. And half of that bazillion people are paying every month for a gym membership that they are not using. And allegedly it was, I'm gonna get my health together, I'm gonna do my self-care, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that.
Yes.
But they're just, it's like, okay, when do I fit the gym in? Oh yeah, that's right. My gym's open 24 hours. I can go at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, that is not good self-care if you're not getting any
Right.
rest anyplace else.
Right.
If you're not able to sleep through the night, you have small children, you're caregiving for an elder, you're working 2 or 3 jobs, and 5 o'clock in the morning is your time to just be. I'll be real clear. I'm not getting up going to the gym and it's snowing. I'm just not. You know, and that's if I
Right.
lived in a place where it didn't snow, that might be a very
Right.
different thing. But 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm not training for a marathon. I'm not training for swim meet. I'm not training for gymnastics. I'm not training for ice skating. 5 o'clock is my time.
Right.
And whether I lay there and just think, I meditate, I read, whatever it is, that is my time. And I cherish my time. Because as I said before, if I can't love me,
Come on.
I can't love anybody else. I can't help anybody else. And so with that, you know, self-care is not about how much money I spend on my gym membership, how much money I spend doing whatever. And while I love to shop, spending money unnecessarily is not self-care either.
Right.
Going out to window shop may take care of that urge. And now that shopping is so easy that I can do it from my home on my computer, you know,
Right.
it's still not the best thing because it's not self-care if I'm spending money I don't have.
Right.
And so with that, I'm not taking care of myself because then I'm worrying about how am I going to pay this bill when it comes.
Right.
So we have to really look at all the spectrum, the wide, vast, deep spectrum of what self-care looks like. Getting a massage. I like getting massages. There are people who are like, oh, don't touch me. And especially don't touch my ears and my feet or whatever it is. And while that's something I like doing, it's not something I do every week or every month.
Right.
But I do treat myself to that because I deserve to have that. And
Wow.
so when we're thinking about self-care, we have to think about our mental health, our
Yes.
mental well-being, and we have to recognize and acknowledge that, you know what, today I'm not all here. And I need to call somebody because I prayed and I've meditated, and that still doesn't have me in the place that I need to be in. I need to reach out to somebody. I need somebody to hear me. And that doesn't mean that God doesn't hear us, but sometimes we need that human contact that says, I'm reaching out. And maybe all I need is for that person to just say, you're going to be all right today. Or you know what? Don't worry about the whole day. These next 5 minutes, you're going to be all right. And taking that, because that may be all I need is that 5 minutes of contact from someone.
Wow, that's so powerful. That's so powerful. Does anyone have any other thoughts or any advice you'd like to give for someone who may be struggling with trying to incorporate self-care into their everyday life? Anyone else
I
has
would
anything they'd like to say?
yeah, I have something. As a leader, my primary thing is that people are always watching you. And when you're leading people, whether you're a mother, you're a sister, you're a pastor, you're a prophetess, whatever, if you have people up underneath you, I always try to remind people whatever you have is what you're going to pour. So if I have exhaustion, then that's exactly what I'm going to pour. If I have running on emptiness, then that's what I'm going to pour. So because of the people attached to myself would push me to take care of myself, because I can't encourage them, hey, you need to rest, you need to do the things that you like to do, you need to make sure that you are fueling back into you, giving God the opportunity to pour back into you if I'm not doing it myself. So the walking of example. And I think the primary problem with Black women, as well as, we were never given permission, is that's all we've seen. Is when you look at your mother, you've seen her work until she can't work anymore and then get back up and then do something else. So I think if the example changes, then that generational tiredness will change as well. So I would encourage people to pay attention to whatever you have inside of you is what you will pour. So you cannot be remiss or feel some type of way when your followers or the people underneath you, your children, are going on E when that's all you've shown them.
Wow.
I think that's huge. That's huge.
It's so huge.
About breaking the pattern.
Right.
Breaking the pattern of what we deem to be, oh, you're so strong, to the point says, you know what, I need to breathe.
Right.
And the breathing may just be able to say, to give people the courage to understand that articulating that you're tired is okay.
Okay.
Saying that you're not okay is okay. To say, I need a minute. Especially if you're a mother or your aunt or a caregiver.
Right.
When you're out all day.
Right.
And you come home and people start asking for stuff. I made it a habit earlier on with my children to tell them, give me about 30 minutes. I love you. I'm glad to see you. Give me 30 minutes. I go in the room. I close the door. I don't ask for anything. I don't talk to anybody for 30 minutes. They know, don't knock on the door unless somebody is bleeding or somebody has lost a limb, but I think everybody's okay for 30 minutes.
Right.
And in that time, I can come back, I can recoup, I can re-engage and say, now, how was your day?
Right.
How are you?
Right.
Now, have you guys thought about what you want to eat for dinner? Now we can get back into the mode of me mothering, because right now, Monica needs some time. I'm not a mama. I'm not working for nobody. I'm not a leader at this point,
right.
Even though I am. But at this point, I am just Monica, and I need that moment to reconnect to this girl. She's been giving and pouring out, as you said, Kyra, to so many people all day long. I need to take the minute to restore, renew, and refresh. Just in that moment, give me that time, and then I can come back and engage and be a better mama than when I went in the room and closed the door.
Exactly. And that's why I think it was so important. I think it was so important and so powerful. I was so proud of Simone, and as I said, Monica, thank you for bringing her up, because that was one of the things that I wanted to address, like to know that platform. When you have those, you don't choose. A lot of times, everyone that's on this panel, we don't choose. We don't choose who we influence, right? We have those, you may have those who are looking up to you now that you may not even know, but you are aware of the leadership position, that you have, and knowing the impact that your life has on so many, to know that when I take a stand, it's going to speak volumes. So I was so proud of her to say, hey, I need this for me, to take away that whole performance piece, right? To feel like that pressure, like I have to perform, to know that before there was ever performance, there was me. I have to value myself beyond performance, beyond others' expectations, because at the end of the day, there would have been so many more major repercussions she might have experienced even after the twirl, the twip, the what she does as a gymnast. I mean, she would have gotten off, she might have gotten off, and who would have known what her emotional state would have been after that. But because she loved her team and her country enough to say, you know what, just like you said, it's time to break this pattern. People need to see us not just as leaders and athletes. They need to see us as true human beings that have those same needs, that you do. So I celebrate the stand that she made. That was worldwide, phenomenal stand that she made, and it impacted so many that there's so many conversations, even through what the stand that she made now that are happening, and they're happening for our young people, like of our young people that need to hear, you have to care about yourself first. Just like I was talking about, like if you have nothing to pour out, what is that going to look like? It's going to be dry, going to be barren, and we're not breaking that cycle. We have young people, we need to talk about it in our community. Our young children are passing out, being so exhausted, feeling like if I don't measure up to these expectations, to these pressure. So debunking that myth to say, no, we don't have that expectation for you. Care for yourself first and let everyone else be okay. They're going to have to be okay. When you take that stand, be okay. Be okay with that response, because everyone's not going to be happy. I'm sure a lot of people weren't happy when she took that stance. But it's not about everyone else. You have to take care of you first.
And what's so powerful about that, people don't understand, this is the first national stage that she's taken since the doctor had been in jail for molesting gymnasts, and she was one of them. This is the first time that you get told, that is historically has been told by an Olympic committee to a gymnast, you're too good, so we can't even rate you. So we're going to need you to kind of
dumb it down
up, because everybody dumb it down. Absolutely. Not even, we need you to stop being so wonderful, because what you're doing is that you're measuring up the performance stick. And all of these other gymnasts can't do that because they're too dangerous. So what she did is that you're hearing people saying that, and she says, you know what? I'm good. I'm sitting down. Well, what do you mean? You see that chair? You see me? You see me? You see the chair? You see the chair? You see me? You see me in the chair? That's it. I'm sitting there.
The other thing she did was gave performance another definition.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Performance is about how I show up. Not just I need to be the star, I need to get a 10, I need to get a this or that. Performance is about how we show up.
That's right.
And the integrity that we take along in the process.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And so when I see her, I see Simone, I see Naomi Osaka, I see Coco, I look at all of them, because for Venus and Serena, what they had was, we better get injured so we can take a break.
Right.
They didn't, it wasn't okay for any of them to say, I'm not playing today. I'm not gonna be there. They just either didn't show up, and there may have been a fine. I don't really know about that, but we now have them saying, you know what, my mental health is important to me.
That's right.
My mental health is important. My very being is at stake here, and I need to say, press the pause button and have it be okay, because with y'all need to figure it out, because it's already okay with me.
That's right. Has anyone ever experienced, and I'm just following in the flow, I just want to bring this out, and please feel free to respond, according to your level of comfort. Has there anyone has ever experienced that, either in the workplace or, a way where you've had to take a stand and say, I choose me first. I value me first, and like you said, letting you be that example of things that might need to change or shift. Has everyone ever experienced that before? You'd like to talk about that? Okay.
Well, I just recently had to do that. But before I say that, I just want to say something in regards um, to Simone. The fact that it bothered me on two fronts. One, because here they are telling this young woman that because you're too good and nobody can
Do what you do.
do what you do, right?
It's too much.
We're not gonna give you your due worthy. So that's the first part. But the other part that bothered me about that is on the backside. So now you're telling all these other gymnasts that they can't grow and become great, because that's what you just did.
Right.
You told them they'll never be great. You told them they can't succeed. You told them they can't be the best. By telling her that you're too good, and because you're too good, nobody else can do what you do. You also just told all these other young girls that you'll never be great. So it bothered me on two fronts because they did double damage. They didn't just do a single damage. It was a double damage. But thank God them young ladies on the American team stepped up and showed and proved that they could be great.
Yes.
Thank God that they didn't let that stop them and go, oh my God, we don't have her. We're not going to be able to do this. No, they didn't do that. They said, because you took the time to care for you, we're going to show you that we care for you by still stepping up to the plate and doing what we doing. But how many young girls, how many other athletes were affected in a negative way by that statement? And so it wasn't just the one side, it was
Right.
the other side that, whether they realize it or not, they hurt as well.
Right.
And so now how many moms had to go back and encourage their daughters or their sons or whatever and say, no, that's not a true and fair statement. Because it's not true and fair to say, because somebody else can do this greater, you can't accomplish the same thing or do even better.
Right.
And so I just wanted to point that out because I think a lot of people have.
Yes. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we'll wait till we want to hear back from Erica to continue her thoughts. Erica, we'll wait till we can get you back on. We can't hear you right now, but we can't wait to hear when you're able to continue expressing your thoughts. If you
Can
might.
you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So
Okay.
I was just saying that I think a lot of people have missed that part
Right.
of that whole scenario. I think a lot of people have just missed that. And that's what jumped out to me, was not just what they were doing to her, but what they did to the rest of them by saying what they said.
Mhm.
We know as God-fearing women, life and death are in the power of the tongue. And they don't realize the death that they may have spoken over somebody.
Mhm.
There may have been somebody who, up until that moment, has said, I'm going to go for it. And then when they said that, said, never mind.
Right.
they don't know the dreams that they crushed by making that kind of a statement, you know. And so that's just my little 2 cents on that. And so going into where you said about having to stand up for yourself. So I'm back in school
Yay!
along with everything else I got going on right now, Lord Jesus. But I have literally been in the emergency room every week for the past month for something. And
Mm,
so my last class that I was in, I failed because I tried to keep pushing and tried to do it, was doing the work, but wasn't getting
right,
the grade that I felt I deserved. And I let them know, this professor, y'all need to look into how this person is grading, because it just didn't jive with me in comparison to how well I did in all my classes up to this one. And now all of a sudden, everything that I've been led to believe or have felt
right.
that I've done right because I've done so well, now you're kicking me for that, right? And so I ended up in the emergency room again. I'm in my new class, and I end up in the emergency room again. And I said, you know what, Erica, you are mentally drained.
Mhm.
You need to take a moment for you.
Yes.
Get yourself some relax time, breathe, and then pick this back up. So before I could even say anything, I messaged my student advisor, and I sent her, my doctor documentation like I'm supposed to, let them know I was in the emergency room. I had got a cornea and abrasion, so I couldn't see. I can't be on the computer. I can't do my work because I'm strictly online. And she messaged me back and she said, here are some options that you can do. And I read the options. And I messaged her back and I said, you know what? I'm going to go with the option I think is best for me. I need to withdraw from this class. I need to withdraw from this semester. I need to take a break. I need to get myself together and then come back fresh, renewed. And she responded, I am so glad that that is the option that you took,
Wow.
because I am in agreement with you. Thank you for standing up for yourself and saying, no, I'm not going to keep doing this and y'all not
Yes.
going to push me, but I need to take time for me so I can be better at what I want to do. So that's just that was just recent.
Yes.
I had to look at my own mental health, my
Right.
own mental well-being, and go, if I keep doing this, I'm going to snap.
Yes.
It was too much.
Yes.
It was too
That's
much.
that's so
And
powerful.
so I was like, she was like, well, when you come back, just know that they're going to put you on financial aid probation. I was like, I'm fine with that
Right.
because I'll be able to handle it when I get back.
Right.
What I didn't want to do was fail another class and then be told I lose my
Right.
financial aid altogether and that I can't continue.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Wow. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that testimonial. Did anyone else have something that they wanted to share? There was something I wanted to share, but I wanted you all to have an opportunity to share if there was a time that you've experienced.
I think that part of it is just being able to recognize, uh, like as when Kaya said, when I am an empty vessel.
Right.
And how do I define being an empty vessel? Do I define it as um, I'm not enough for everybody. I'm not enough. Period. Um, I need to be better. I need to do this. I need to do, or do I define it as um, I am standing for me. I am choosing me. And because I choose me, it means that I am selfishly self-loving me.
Oh wow, that's so
And
good. That's so
there have
good.
been times when I have just let that go because it was easier to just do it myself and let everybody else do what they needed to do. And I have recognized that within myself, sometimes that just let me do it and take care of it means I don't have to worry about it. It gets done, but at what price?
Right.
And then people begin to expect that, don't worry about it. She's going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. She'll get it done. Don't worry about it. And so now they may not do it the way that I want them to do it, or the way I had envisioned, or the way that I
Right.
think it's going to look. They may not have. But if I have done what I needed to do to show the way, the absolute best gift that someone, as Kaya said, people who are under you, people who are following you,
Yes.
the best that they can give back to me is to do it better than me.
Mhm.
Do it better than the teacher, because I get to learn from that
Right.
student. And we are all students in life and of life. So I get to learn from others, and they get to learn from me. I mean, I can remember being on a job where if I'm
Yes.
ever in charge, I will not do it like this.
Yes.
And that was the greatest lesson, was I
Mhm.
don't want to be a leader like this.
Right.
To have that example and
Right.
to be able to do it differently. So I would say that every day, looking at where I want to be, how I want to be, how I want to show up, is an inventory, and doing that inventory before I step out with other people. So I usually always say, I need to make sure I'm balancing my sugar and my salt, because I can be kind of starchy sometimes. I need to make
Yes.
sure that, what you see as me
Right.
attacking you or not giving you the answer that you want,
Mhm.
and soft pedaling that answer, that may not be good for my mental well-being.
Right.
I just need to tell you, and of course, I'm not going to try and kill the messenger,
Right.
or denigrate you with what I'm saying. But sometimes it really is, this is it. This is what's real for me.
Right.
And if I hurt your feelings, tell me now. Don't wait 6 months to tell me.
Exactly. Exactly.
Tell me
And
now.
right. Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And and for me, and I'll try to make it brief. That just a transparent moment, for me. I think you're absolutely right. It became this whole self-care and significance of mental health came so real for me. Um, I'll say probably about 17 years ago, when and please forgive me, I'm just so grateful to be able to be here to just testify of the great things that God has done in this journey, but to understand things came to I know we say a hard stop. Oh, it came a hard stop when my daughter, my oldest daughter, she had to call 911. She had to call 911 on me because I had passed out in the living room. I had passed out in the living room, y'all. And that was that moment that I knew I had reached my peak. Things that I thought that I was letting go and casting over to care so quickly came to me. And it was such an eye-opening experience, because I was actually, and I'm gonna say it briefly, but I was actually admitted. To the ICU. I had to stay in ICU for 3 or 4 days. They said that they didn't even know how I was breathing. That air with it, how they explained it to me, that I was breathing out, but no air was coming in. So they had to stay and evaluate me. Thank God, I was able to go home. But I'm here to tell you, it was a very challenging 18-month process. My life completely changed, and the things that I took for granted, I had to start letting things go and saying no and being okay, because I knew my life depended on it. At the end of the day, you have a checklist, but when your checklist is done, where am I going to be? So that was such a reality check for me. And at the time I was on this job with an administrator when I was able to go back to work. And I had the information, I had the, FMLA, the medical, the leave, and, my doctor wrote up, all these things that, that I had to be implemented in order for me to go back to work, and one of the first times in my life, I had experienced such pressure of working with someone that did not take in consideration of my own health and well-being. So even despite, the things that the doctor was saying that I could not do, I had this administrator that would continue to press, like, okay, I know they're saying this, but I need you to do this. I just wanted to be transparent. So all of the reality is like we have to take care of ourselves, and it happens to all of us. And even in your job, on your workplace, if you're in a situation, where you're having that pushback and resistance, don't be afraid to choose yourself, because at the end, if you're not here, you're not going to be able to do all these things that someone's asking and expecting, but unfortunately it became really messy. I had to file grievance, had to go, but the great thing about it was, even outside of that, it was a reality check for me, because for the first time, I was actually able to take that stand and say, no, I love me more than I love making sure that these expectations are met from someone, who's over me, someone who's an administrator, and I'm gonna tell you, and I know it was nobody but God. I'm thankful, because you know what? I wasn't even afraid. Like, okay, if I don't come back, I'll still be alive. I'll still be alive, and I'll still be in good health, because I was still in the recovery process, where I was even able to just work part-time. So I'm still recovering. My body was still recovering, as she was continually trying to push, push, push. But the thing about it, Monica, welcome, like you're talking about, when people put those expectations on us, those around you see. And I knew that there were those, other colleagues, teachers that I was working with saw, like, how is Andrea going to respond to this? Like, is she going to do all these things and we may be having another conversation, at her funeral, or is she going to take a stand? So I'm thankful, because even though I didn't return back to that position, thank you, Lord, I had an opportunity to be that example of knowing how to take a stand, even to those, and I know there must be a reason why we're here, but even to those who are over you, who are in authority, you have to know you still have a voice. You still have a say, even with those who may be over you, who may be pushing. Know that your voice still matters, and you still have a say, on your emotional and mental health. That no one can push you so far where they know it's going to impact your mental health and physical well-being. So I just wanted to share that, and just be a little transparent with you all, to know that, that was such an eye-opener for me, as a mother, educator, woman of God, all of those, to know if I don't choose myself, the repercussions, so it's just been such an amazing journey, and I'm thankful, I continue to speak those positive things and believe in completely total health and wholeness and recovery from my body. But my body, I don't know about y'all, it lets me know when I have internalized something. It'll that stress. Well, my body will signal like, Andrew, you need to let that go, because you just can't afford to, and statistics show that stress factor, that stress is not just a cliche. Stress kills. Stress kills. And we have to really be more mindful, of what we're saying to people, especially as Black women, like Kaya, I love you. My daughter is saying like, having to watch your mother do these things, like, no, I need to be a better example. Let them know that, no, it's not worth throwing yourself into the ground. And then now you have to pray. You got to get people to come and pray for you. You got to get your support system. You have to change your whole life just so you can recover, because of that fear of not being either accepted, or that fear of thinking I let somebody down. So no, just like you're saying, Monica, just breaking those patterns, and breaking that cycle. So I wanted to just use that example just as a segue to ask you all, like, what would it mean? What does that look like? How can we share with people, encourage people? How does that look like when you say to take off the mask, uncover the rug? What things can they do? Because it first starts with us, before we have expectations, of others to receive and accept us. We have to first start with us, right? And our own self-care and well-being that we have for ourselves. So how can we suggest or recommend those to take off those masks or to uncover the rug, so that they can have better self-care for themselves, or to promote self-care in their own lives? I know that's a loaded question.
Sometimes I think it just starts with a question. I'm sorry, we had some technological
Oh
difficulties.
no, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
It definitely starts by asking a question, and it doesn't have to be real deep. Look yourself in the mirror and say, how are you today? And be careful of I am statements. That part of saying, oh, I am so tired. And we say that, and then we wonder, why am I so tired? Because you just said you were tired. Right. Because anything that comes after I am, God said I'm the great I am. So we don't want to substitute anything that calls those things that be not as though they put ourselves in I am statements. Right. If he says I am healed, I'm tired, but I know that I'm healed. It's different between the acknowledgement. So you have to have hard conversations with yourself. Like, are you really here today? And be like, no, I'm not. And be able to if you have to take that time and not be afraid to hear what the answer is going to be. Because we don't want to have conversations with ourselves, because then we have to face ourselves, combat ourselves, look at ourselves naked and not ashamed. Right. And so we have to really have those hard to have questions. And then when you can't figure out one, God, show me. Show me. And have an open heart to receive what he shows you. There's something very powerful about this. Like, you know what? I can't do. I was having a moment. I was 3 or 4 days ago. God, I'm just so frustrated. Da, 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 da. You get in those moments. Them kids don't listen. What am I not doing? And I could hear you try to correct out of your disappointment. Yeah. You try to correct out of your frustration. And that frustration is what they hear. They don't hear what you're saying. Right. So everything like Friday, beautiful, supernatural church experience, things changed. Right. So as we're talking, I said, can you just do this? Okay. My children have never been raised in an environment where it was vitriol everywhere, right? But I was like, oh, I had become the very thing I said I didn't want it to become. Mm-hmm. So I had to have a hard Q&A with myself. Yeah. And my son said, you all right? I said, yeah. Why? You just different. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you know what? I appreciate that, but I'm good. But can you do me a favor? You forgot to do such and such and such. Could you do that, please? Thank you. Same thing, different tone, different approach, because I had to check me. Had to check me, and then I had to pray about what I was being checked on and be able to receive what I heard. So it's a process. It might not be everybody's process, but it's pretty close. It's the whole check-in. You have to.
Right. Wow. Wow. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Does anyone else have any other thoughts that they'd like to share around that? I know that was a loaded question.
You know, sometimes I think we start from this place of what's wrong instead of looking at what's missing. And because they're two very different things. So I can look and say, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. This is what happened. I wasn't this, I wasn't that. And I can look at it from that place of what's wrong. But if I step back and say, okay, Yolanda, what was missing in this whole thing? It's not about right or wrong. It's about, was I present? Did I show up? Was I there? What was missing? You know what? I didn't set the time. I need to set the time. I need to do this. I need to do this. If I did X, Y, and Z, those were the things that weren't there. You know, there's an example of people who are really great. So for Simone Biles, it wasn't about what was wrong.
Right.
It was about what was missing. And what was missing was her being able to be present in the way that she wanted to be present. What was missing was the pushback from others who were wanting to force her to be able to say, you have to do this. What's missing is when we're pushing our athletes and not listening to what they're saying. So they're out there, they're visible, and we're saying that, you know, we look at it, it isn't about what's wrong. And then for us, what's missing? What's missing is when I am not fully in what God or Rumula wants for me, and I'm living it for somebody else. Because see, I don't have a God that doesn't want me to be joyful, that doesn't want me to sing and play and have fun and be responsible, absolutely. But there's nothing that says that my God is saying, go sit in that corner, because if you can't be in your book, in your Bible, in your whatever it is, your Quran, your Odu, if you can't be doing that, then it's the wrong thing. It's not about that. If I'm really, really, really hearing, then that means I get to have fun doing it too. I get to laugh, I get to sing, I get to be joyful, I get to dance, I get to be all of those things, because all of those are part of me. And yes, I can be serious. And yes, I can feel like, okay, here's something, I'm not sure I know how to do it, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. Because I just don't, I do not serve a higher power, a higher being that doesn't allow me to bring all of who I am and be able to bask in my greatness, even when my greatness has me in tears, because I need those tears for a reason. There's something I need to cleanse, that I need to let go of. I may not know its name, but the tears will help me do that. There isn't anything wrong when I pull back and say, you know what? It's like Monica was talking about that 30 minutes. I used to tell my son when things up and said, now wait a minute. I'm sure you don't want me to go berserko right now.
Yeah.
And it was, berserko was just a name that I had made
Yeah.
up. And he knew I wouldn't hit him. He knew I
Right.
wasn't gonna curse him out. He knew I wasn't gonna scream and holler, because his big thing was, "Ooh, my mom, she's supposed to work at home. She's always wanting to talk about stuff." Um, but I look at
Yes.
that and I would say, "You don't want me to go berserko now, do you? So I
Right.
need this time right now." And he'd be like, "Okay, mom." And it is not wrong. It is not awful. It is not poor parenting to tell your kids, your children, "I need some minutes to myself."
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying go jump on a plane, leave
Right.
them home by themselves,
Right.
and hope they can figure out how to get something to eat.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
that's a little different.
Right.
And we do know that people who do those kinds of things wind up on the news,
Yes,
and
they do.
depending upon what you look like will determine what the outcome happens to become. But I am reminded of when I was in grad school, I had a friend who just needed some me time, and she just wasn't getting it. And she was just like, she kept telling people, "I need this time, I need this time, I need this time."
Mhm.
But what she did was she told her husband that the washer and dryer was broken, knowing he would never know. And she packed her clothes in the laundry basket, and her toiletries in the bottom of the laundry basket. And she said, "I'm going to the laundromat." And
Mm.
so he said, "Okay." And she knew he could take care of their children. She knew that her children would be okay. She had a bag in her trunk. She put those clothes and her toiletries in that bag, and she had bought an airline ticket. And she went to take care of herself. She went and stayed with a family relative who was just there to take care of her. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go to those extremes, but sometimes when we don't know what to do, though what we do will feel like it is an extreme.
Is the right thing.
And
Mhm.
it is the right thing to keep us healthy, to keep us on the
Right.
planet. My
Right.
self-care needs to look like eating right. If I have hypertension, keeping my hypertension in check. If I am diabetic, not eating those things, not sitting up trying to eat up a whole peach cobbler with some
Ice cream.
coconut cake and
No.
ice cream on the side.
Yes.
It's making sure that I'm taking care of
Yes.
me.
Yes.
So that is self-care.
Yes. You're absolutely
So
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's so amazing. Monica, go ahead, because it's so amazing that you mentioned that, because she actually thought she was doing taking care of herself. She actually thought that that was self-care for her. So that's why
it
we
was
have to identify, that whole self-identification. Like we have to embrace that, because although it might have been an inconvenience for everyone else, that was what she needed for that time, for her self-care. Monica, go ahead. I know you've been waiting to. I'm sorry. I just had to say that. Go ahead.
You're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I was just in complete agreement. But I think what Yolanda said before, which was so beautiful and so graceful, it's not something that's wrong, but something that's missing.
Right.
And I think that sometimes we always think that we're missing. So sometimes I don't think we even know what's missing. But I earnestly believe that when you find out what's missing, you find out wherever other emotion was attached to what's missing.
Mm.
So then you don't necessarily are overcome by the thing, but embraced by the fact that you're going to be healed from whatever it was that you didn't understand. And so sometimes we don't have a designation point. This came from when I was 4 years old. We don't have those reference points. And some folks don't want to think about it. So when you find out the missing part, it makes it easier to see, well, if that's missing, then I must have been whole to begin with. So this is just helping me to reconnect to the thing that was missing. And it doesn't mean I'm broken. Doesn't mean that if I'm a crayon, I can't color. That's not what that means. It means that there's a part of me that was created whole that is in this place that feels a little, what is the part of me that was created in me that I don't see in this moment? What was it that God put in me that I feel something is missing? And we all have that thing where it's like this, I don't know. And so often I think that especially with Black women, we are told what we feel is not what we feel. You're a woman, but you don't feel birth pains.
Mhm.
The largest percentage of infant mortality are under Black women, and most Black women actually have C-sections. Even as their first birth, not a vaginal birth. And so those are things that we don't pay attention to, those numbers. I'm not going to throw out a whole bunch of them, but there's solid
Good information.
medical data that substantiates that this is what's happening. So it's the part of being an advocate and saying and believing in what you're saying about what you say that is missing, Miss Yolanda, rather than what's missing, because that will tell the story. If it's your focus, I'm not ready. I can't do that, because what I have to do is going to require me to be at present, and I can't do that. So in order for me not to be present and endanger other people, I'm going to sit down, and understanding that sit down is just as much courage as it is to stand up.
Yes. Yes.
That they are both not even close cousins. They are sitting in the same row, board of the same seat. And so we have to understand that sometimes sitting down and pulling back is okay, because we are always, this is what's so funny, Andrew, I think we talked about this briefly. We have always been able to get accolades for how much stuff we do. And we make up stuff to put into the eyes of other people who have never met us, don't understand our love for stuff, why we do what we do, to make a judgment based on how much stuff we do.
Right.
And what we do it on resumes. I've done all of this. I've done all of this. And the less that you feel you have to tell a story about what you've done, the less valuable you feel as though you need a rest. So you do more in order to feel what's missing, because you don't know that. So you throw yourself into everything, but you realize, oh, guess what? You like to be around a whole lot of people because you don't like to be around yourself. Now we're having a different conversation.
Right.
But we celebrate people when they do a whole bunch and burn out.
Right.
But we're celebrating them in their highs. Oh my God, she does, he does. Oh my God, they're wonderful, wonderful. And the minute they're on the decline, see, I told you they weren't where they was. Rather than going into help, you're going to judge. And we have to be very careful, because the very thing we say, that thing can come back on us. So if we don't understand, so they're on the decline. Right. Maybe it's the fact they've been wanting to really give up stuff and didn't really know how to do it, and the stuff just starts falling off.
Exactly. And that's transition. And that's what transitioning looks like.
Yes. And a lot of folks, Andrew, don't know that that's called transition.
Yes.
They think it's called absolute ultimate failure. I missed it. I didn't do this. I must not be as smart as I thought I was. Wrong time. And oh my God, God is against me. Like everything that and all of the guilt and condemnation comes down, and it hovers and it grabs a hold. And then people fight 10, 15, 20 years after that just to get through it. Not to overcome it, but just to get through it. So we have to know that it's okay that if you don't have 500 things to do and people celebrate you not getting home, we're not doing that. Right. And then when I'm sick, you say, well, why are you sick? Because I was doing 400 things. Well, literally it was only 398, but I wasn't counting. So we concentrate on the 2 and not realize the accolades and the things that we've done in the 399. So we have to be very intentional about how we do that and how we gauge how other people are valued based on what we say.
Wow, that's so good. This is so good. So rich conversation. Nakaya, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say I wanted to give a ministry perspective for people that are heavily involved in ministry, and them being able to tell the difference between conviction and manipulation. I think the main thing that I struggled with my 15 years of being in ministry and still going is that people will manipulate the gift that you have. So they like to manipulate it in making you feel bad when you do say no, and they want to call it conviction because it's tied to church, it's tied to the Holy Spirit, it's tied to God. So you're upset with me for saying no to you, and then you want to ridicule me and say that now I'm disobedient. So I think, for the people that are still doing ministry, no matter what vein you're in, you have to be very careful as to what you call conviction from God that you didn't do this thing, or it's manipulation from the people of God, because they will continue to use your gift. They will pimp it out until they can't anymore, because all they care about is what happens when you get to them, but nobody sees what happens when you get home. So I think the primary thing that I've learned over the course of my 15 years in ministry is knowing when I'm being manipulated and knowing when I'm being convicted, and not mixing the two. Whereas, okay, I say no. Am I being disobedient to God or disobedient to man? And that kind of helped me identify, well, who do I serve? Because now we're in a people where we all serve men because you want me to be at this event. You want me to do this. You want me to do that. So who am I really serving at this point if I'm doing everything that you called me to do rather than what God is calling me to do? So I would say my main takeaway from self-care is I know when I'm being convicted by God, and I know when I'm being manipulated by the people of God. Just because you want me at your event does not mean I have to be there. And for people that are involved in ministry to become okay with not going, and it not being, we're not called to be everywhere. Just because you call doesn't mean I have to answer the phone. I pay my own phone bill, so whoever calls my phone, I can decide if I'm going to answer or I'm going to hang up the phone. So just because, I think a lot of people get mixed up when a church person calls you, that automatically equates that God is sending you to that place, rather than he's like, no, I told you that I wanted you to rest. Or I told you I wanted you to abide in me. I told you I wanted you to soak more. I told you I wanted you to spend more time with your family so that you can do these things. But when somebody calls, you're the first person to be like, okay, I gotta go because someone called, or that's me being disobedient, or I missed an assignment. And I had to learn that whatever God has for you is going to be for you, regardless of what you do. There's nothing you can do about it. If you're disobedient, you will delay, but that doesn't mean it was declined. You delayed your process rather than it completely got eliminated. So either way that it goes, God's will be done. And another thing I had to learn was my presence should not determine if your event is going to have the Holy Spirit or not. So when people try to manipulate and say, well, you coming, you're going to bring the anointing and you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I don't want to come if the anointing is not already there. So the pressure of having the responsibility of someone in ministry has to change, and the strength of a minister has that definition has to change, and we have to start recognizing when we're being spiritually manipulated or when God is actually convicting us.
Wow, so powerful. That's so powerful. So powerful. Anyone, any comments, thoughts, feedback? Yolanda, Monica? Thank you, Nakaya, for sharing that. That's so insightful. Very much so. And we do have to realize, just because you called don't mean I have to pick up. I like that. I have to pick up the phone. I have to call. Because you calling don't mean I have to answer. And that's one of those things that we have to recognize, to know you don't have to accept everything in the call. Just because someone calls or asks on you, or tries to hype you up, like, Monica, can't nobody do it like you, girl. This may be true, but I might need you to we might need to expand your resources.
Exactly.
And let me show you someone else. They may not look like me. It may not be exactly me, but I guarantee you they're going to get the work done, and you'll be as blessed as you were as if I was there. So shifting that, knowing how to respond to no. I think like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Did she say no? Did she say like confused? Like, did she say no? What did she really say? You know, because it's okay to just be a resource. You understand what I'm saying? It's okay to be that resource because people will try to hype you. They'll hype you up like, woo, girl, can't nobody do it like you. Okay, yes, but let me be a resource to you. You know, and those are those boundaries that we need to set for others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's about boundary setting that we get our most pushback
Yes.
from. And when we are demonstrating and living within those boundaries, and we have to be willing to be okay with the things that get
Right.
said about who we are now, because we said no. But I am like Kaya, if you call me and I don't want to talk to you, it isn't because I think you're a bill collector. It's
Right.
like, you know what? It's my time. And like I said, I'm paying my own phone bill. And so sometimes I do say to people, let me ask this question. Did you sign on the front of the check or the back of the check?
Right.
So, you know, because it's the difference. When I paid that car note, was your name on it or was
Right.
mine? So
Right.
it's all of those things. It's that is a part of our humanness.
Right.
And I cannot be, it's like I said before, I cannot be a vessel for good for God if, as Kai said earlier, if I'm empty. They was just like, oh, that used to be that would, and I just remember my grandmother. Once I had a really bad accident, and I couldn't work for 3 or 4 months. And I just kept telling my grandmother, oh, she would call, how you doing? How you doing? And I would say, oh, I just, you know, I need to hurry up. I need to get back to work. I need to do this. She said, let me tell you something. This is what I have learned, that you can go to work and you can fall, you can fall out, you can faint, you can do whatever at work. You could die at your desk and they will wipe off the desk, move your body, call your family and say, come get her stuff. And on Monday morning, somebody new will be sitting there.
That's right.
And so, you know, that when she told me that, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that is right. And so then I would tell people at one of the places I worked, I would say, if something happens and I pass out in here, please don't let me fall on this nasty floor. You know, so it was just like all of those things that are telling me, take a break, take your time, love yourself.
That's right.
You are enough.
That's right.
And I wanted to add to that too. One thing that I do not condone people do is a lot of times we blame everyone else when we're too busy or when we're called on so much. And I think we all need to take responsibility in the fact that nobody can make you do anything that you don't want to do or that you are not willing to do. So saying your no and then meaning it, rather than if you recant your no all of the time, then I'm not going to take you seriously. So I tell people, what you complain about, either fix it or now it's a choice. So you choose to be the one to keep that people keep calling on. You choose to be the one to keep going to that when you can say no. So my sympathy and my empathy kind of descends in a point where it becomes a choice for you now. Because do not complain to me about something that you're choosing to do. Like, oh, I'm so tired because she's calling me and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Well, you can sit down for a second. You have that option to do so. So I think though we want to be able to do self-care as well and kind of blame everybody else for why we do not, I would take an internal mirror image and say, well, why is it that people keep calling you for the same thing? You're not God. So who are you really redirecting them to?
Right.
Are you presenting yourself as God? Like Monica said before, your I am needs to change in a way like,
Right.
I can't do anything about your situation either because I'm not the I am. So you need to go ahead and redirect your needs to the one that can actually do something about it.
Right.
And sometimes I just cannot show up. If I'm busy, if I'm with my family, if I'm doing this, if I'm doing that, you have to say no, and you have to actually mean that no, rather than you say no and then they're like,
Right.
okay, well, you know this, and then you're like, okay, never mind, here I come. So I respect the fact that, you know, people have a big heart to reach out to
Right.
people and to do whatever it is that they need to do. But I think a lot of people need to take self-responsibility and their lack of self-care, because no one has dominion over you like you do.
Right.
Even God gives us a choice. So I think your choice is what's essential when it comes to self-care as well.
And, you know, I'm sorry, go ahead, Yolanda, go ahead.
The other thing that we have to look at is, what does it mean when I can't say no?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about me when I can't
Right.
say no?
Right.
Ooh, and it all goes back to that. Do I think I'm enough? Do I think I'm big enough?
Right.
Do I think I have enough? Do I love myself enough? What does it mean if I have to be there, if I have to be there all of the time? What does that mean? What is the work that I need to be doing with myself if I got to say yes to everything?
Right. And you're absolutely right. And that's what I'm I'm just so glad when this happens, because I was thinking the same thing. And, you know, Kaya, you're so right, because like for me, you know, when I was sharing just my testimony, you know, on the journey, and, you know, when that happened, you know, that was the time where I did have to look at my internal mirror, you know, and that's one of the things that's so easy to, you know, it's so easy for us to say, oh, maybe they're not doing this. Or it's so easy to look at others than to look at ourselves, that mirror for ourselves. And I had to look and ask myself, you know, have that conversation to know, like, why do I feel like I need these approvals? You know, why do I feel like I need approval? Why do I feel like I have to still keep going? Now, let this disclaimer, I don't do it anymore. Thank you, Lord, for change. I'm talking about when I was going initially in the beginning, I had to have those challenging conversations, like with myself, that whole self-reflection, to realize like, you know, Kai was talking about, it's all about that self-responsibility, that it wasn't anyone else. It was me. I'm the one that was choosing, you know, to be in these situations where I'm exhausted, feeling exhausted, fatigue, and taking on things when I knew I was tired, or knew that, you know, yes, okay, maybe I could do it, but maybe I need to rest, you know. So choosing that instead, you know, and it was an eye-opener for me, for myself and my self-care, that, you know, with the help of God, it helped me to tear those mountains down and know, like, I am enough, I am valuable, and it's okay. I don't have to feel guilty to say no, because those people that love me, those key people that care for me, those people that, you know, are in my life, in my circle, when I say no, it's not going to tear down. It's not going to tear down our relationships. It's not going to break down, you know, those things. And if they do, that's an indicator of maybe you weren't in my life for the reason that I thought. So either way, that self-care really helps, you know, when we're talking about taking off the mask, but it really helps unveil things that maybe we need to know and identify, because we want to have that healthy support system, right? We don't want people that when we say no, now you're no longer speaking to me because I said I'm not available today. You know, now things have shifted because I've, you know, chosen myself, you know. So I think that's just so important and so valuable to our self-care, that I know Monica was talking about, that you know, condemnation piece, where sometimes we're like our worst enemy, because we, to really get rid of those condemning things and say, oh gosh, what if this, I say all the time, throw away the what if bucket, because that what if
Right,
bucket
right.
is bottomless. Like, you can sit for hours and talk about what if, and that puts you in a hole, because you'll never, there always will be a what if, so looking at not being okay with looking at where you are, looking at the reality of where I am, and being okay to say, okay, I just said no, that I'm not available and they're not speaking. I haven't heard from them in a month. Being okay to say, oh wow, I need to consider, new relationships. I need to consider, repositioning people in my life. That's a part of your self-care, because I'm valuable enough, that even though you may not cut someone off, you may reposition them if you know that their intent and motive is not for your self-care and your good well-being, because we need that. We need that in our life. We need those in our circle, those who are about our good well-being, because we have enough on the outside that we have to deal with. Can I just be real? Like, as African American women, we have enough on the outside. We don't need our inner circle, judging and, trying to put these other, pressures on us, so I think that that's so valuable. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right about that. Wow. This is so incredible. I'm so thankful for this conversation and this dialogue, just, as it stems around self-care. Were there any last words or any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with everyone as it relates to their self-care and their emotional health? Did anyone else want to say anything? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I hope that this has been brain fuel for you this day. As you were listening in, know that we've had several on our panel. They're still available. If you need their contact information, I will have it available, as we also put it up at the end of our panel discussion. So I just wanted to just close out. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope this encourages you to really be aggressive about your self-care, be intentional about your self-care, because you are valuable. You're valuable. There's no one else like you. No one else can do it like you can do it. So you just got to know, I need, in order to be all that you can be, and the many hats that we may all wear, to know I need to be my best self first. When you're your best self and you're refreshed and refueled and you take time for rest, everyone benefits when we are intentional about our self-care and our rest. So look for those things, identify those things that you believe, as Yolanda spoke so eloquently. Like, wow, Yolanda, if it's okay with you, I might have to borrow that. And the Kai, I might have to borrow some of this. So if you hear any of this information again, like, didn't we talk about this on the panel? Just know, first time, I will mention you. I'll mention your name, but I want you to know in advance, I might have to borrow some of this information, because it was so powerful that I believe it's so worth sharing again. But that whole piece where you're talking about identifying what's missing, if you are having difficulty, and I just wanted to share this before we close. If you're having difficulty identifying what you believe is missing, where you know within yourself, like, something's not right, you're not quite sure what it is, but you know that there's something missing, please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone that's been on our panel, that's on our panel now, or myself. And don't be afraid to seek other support system. I know we've talked about it before, about having that strong support system. Don't be afraid to go seek someone that you can speak with who has that neutral objectivity for you that can help you with that process. It's okay. Can I say it again? It's okay to seek outside help, of someone that that you believe is right for you. And, faith-based counselors, therapists, even a mentor. There are people out there that are waiting to hear from you, that are waiting to assist you. If you're not sure where to go or how to even start that journey, please feel free. I will have the contact information, as I said, at the end of this discussion. Reach out to our panelists. They have such a level of expertise in their area. I'm telling you, they're filled with knowledge and resources. So we're so glad that you joined us. Thank you for joining this conversation and this discussion. Just want you to know that you are valuable. You are important. The world is anxiously awaiting to see that dream, that goal come to pass in your life. It's not impossible. We care about you. Care for yourself, believe in yourself, and watch the impossible happen. Thank you so much for joining us.